Just days before the Super Bowl, the NFL was rocked by a revelation no one saw coming. What was meant to be a week of anticipation and celebration has turned into chaos across the league. Teams, players, and fans are all trying to process the magnitude of this news. Sources inside the NFL describe the situation as unprecedented, an event capable of reshaping the conversation surrounding the championship itself. The timing could not be worse. The build-up to the Super Bowl is usually a showcase of unity and excellence, but this bombshell has shattered that focus. Reporters are scrambling to uncover every detail, executives are meeting behind closed doors, and the entire sports world has turned its attention to the unfolding crisis. Whatever happens next will not only affect the two teams preparing for the biggest stage in football, but could also leave a lasting impact on how the NFL operates, communicates, and safeguards its reputation. Moving forward, the first signs of trouble appeared quietly, buried within internal reports that hinted at irregularities surrounding team operations. At first, league officials dismissed them as minor inconsistencies, but when multiple sources confirmed that the issue involved a high-profile franchise, the situation escalated instantly. What began as routine administrative oversight quickly turned into a full-scale investigation. Emails, contracts, and confidential data were examined as the NFL sought to determine whether violations of league policy had occurred. The deeper the inquiry went, the more alarming the findings became. Certain communications revealed patterns that could suggest deliberate concealment. Insiders described tense meetings within the league office as executives debated how to handle the situation without derailing the Super Bowl narrative. By the time the information reached public awareness, it was no longer containable. The NFL's credibility, already under constant scrutiny, faced one of its greatest tests in recent years. A moment where silence was no longer an option, and action became inevitable. When news of the developing scandal reached team executives, shock quickly turned to strategy. Every franchise wanted to ensure it was not implicated, prompting internal audits across multiple organizations. Front offices began combing through their operations, ensuring all procedures and communications were compliant with league standards. Coaches and players were instructed to avoid public commentary, while media departments scrambled to craft neutral statements. The Super Bowl teams, in particular, faced an impossible balance, maintaining focus on preparation while managing the uncertainty surrounding the league. Reports emerged of team leaders holding closed-door meetings, emphasizing professionalism amid chaos. Privately, frustration grew. Many believed the timing of the revelation could not have been worse, potentially overshadowing the months of effort it took to reach this stage. Rival teams, however, saw opportunity, a potential disruption that could shift momentum in unexpected ways. In an environment built on competition and image, every decision made during these critical hours carried both ethical and strategic consequences. As soon as the story broke, the media storm was immediate and relentless. Headlines across every major outlet speculated on the details, with pundits dissecting the issue from every angle. Talk shows dedicated entire segments to the controversy, while social media erupted with theories, outrage, and disbelief. Fans demanded transparency, flooding comment sections and team pages with questions the league was not ready to answer. In the digital age, information moves faster than facts can be verified, and this crisis was no exception. Rumors spread rapidly, forcing the NFL to issue an official statement acknowledging the investigation. Yet, the vague language only fueled further speculation. Public trust, already fragile from previous controversies, began to erode once again. The timing, so close to the Super Bowl, created a sense of betrayal among fans who simply wanted to celebrate the sport. The narrative had shifted completely. The focus was no longer on the upcoming game, but on the integrity of the league itself. Behind the scenes, the league's headquarters became a hub of urgent decision-making. Senior officials convened in emergency sessions to discuss the implications and potential fallout. Legal advisors, communications teams, and top executives debated the best course of action. Should the league delay public disclosure until after the Super Bowl or confront the situation immediately? Both options carried enormous risk. Delaying could protect the event's image, but worsen backlash later. Acting now could destabilize the most important week of the season. Sources describe the atmosphere as tense, with conflicting interests pulling in different directions. The commissioner faced pressure from ownership groups demanding transparency while also preserving the integrity of the championship. Ultimately, the NFL opted for controlled communication, releasing a preliminary statement while quietly expanding the internal probe. However, leaks continued to emerge, undermining their efforts. Each revelation added new layers of complexity, and the leadership's every move was now being scrutinized by fans, analysts, and stakeholders around the world. For the players, the bombshell created a psychological battle unlike any other. Preparing for the Super Bowl demands total concentration, but now, their routines were disrupted by uncertainty. Many players expressed confusion, unsure how deeply the issue might affect the upcoming game. Some worried about reputational fallout, fearing that the controversy could overshadow their personal and collective achievements. Team captains took on the role of stabilizers, reminding their teammates that focus and discipline remain their greatest defense against distraction. Privately, players shared disappointment that the integrity of the sport they dedicate their lives to was again under question. For veterans, this was a painful reminder of previous league scandals that had cast long shadows over the NFL's credibility. Younger players, meanwhile, found themselves in unfamiliar territory, learning how to navigate a media-driven crisis while trying to maintain performance. The locker room became a place of quiet resolve, where professionalism had to prevail, even as frustration grew louder outside. The reaction from fans was swift and emotional. Season ticket holders, sponsors, and longtime supporters voiced their anger, demanding answers from league officials. Merchandise sales slowed, and public sentiment toward the NFL began to waver. For many, it wasn't just about the scandal itself, but the pattern of repeated controversies that had tested their faith in the league's transparency. Corporate sponsors, wary of association with negative headlines, requested updates and assurances that the issue would not escalate further. Broadcasters faced their own dilemma, balancing coverage between promoting the Super Bowl and addressing the controversy. Financial analysts began speculating about potential revenue losses if public confidence continued to erode. The NFL, long seen as untouchable in its commercial dominance, was facing the rare prospect of economic vulnerability. The fanbase's reaction revealed something deeper. The emotional bond between the sport and its supporters is powerful, but also fragile. Once broken, rebuilding that trust could take years, not weeks. For the teams preparing to play in the Super Bowl, the timing of the controversy was devastating. Both organizations had spent months perfecting their strategy, conditioning, and focus, only to find their preparation overshadowed by external distractions. Media availability sessions turned from football discussions to questions about the scandal. Coaches had to modify their schedules to limit exposure and maintain control of team morale. Players found themselves walking a tightrope, balancing professionalism with the human frustration of having their moment potentially diminished. Analysts warned that mental fatigue could influence performance on the field. The psychological toll became as critical as any physical matchup. Yet, amid the tension, there was a sense of unity forming within locker rooms. Both teams began using the controversy as motivation, framing it as a challenge to prove their resilience under pressure. For the athletes, the Super Bowl had now become more than a championship game. It was a statement about perseverance, integrity, and focus. What began as an isolated issue quickly grew into something far larger. As investigators uncovered more information, new connections emerged involving additional personnel and administrative decisions. The scope of the probe expanded, reaching into areas previously untouched by league scrutiny. Whistleblowers provided statements, and external legal authorities became involved, signaling the seriousness of the matter. The NFL was now dealing with an evolving situation that extended beyond public relations. It had become a governance crisis. Teams not originally linked to the issue found themselves cooperating with investigators to demonstrate transparency. The league's attempts to control the narrative grew increasingly difficult. Each day brought new headlines, and the timeline for resolution became uncertain. Insiders warned that depending on the findings, the consequences could include suspensions, fines, or even policy overhauls. The question shifted from what happened to how deeply the league's systems might be compromised. The once celebratory Super Bowl week had turned into a defining moment for NFL accountability. As the dust begins to settle, one truth remains undeniable: this event has changed the NFL forever. Whether the final investigation results in severe consequences or corrective reform, the trust between the league and its audience has been tested once again. The timing, so close to the Super Bowl, amplified every emotion and raised deeper questions about leadership, integrity, and transparency. For decades, the NFL has thrived on its ability to adapt and recover from controversy. Yet, this moment feels different, not just because of the scale, but because of what it represents. It has forced players, executives, and fans alike to reconsider what the league stands for. The Super Bowl will still be played, the lights will shine, and the crowd will cheer. But beneath the spectacle lies a sobering realization: the strength of the NFL's future will depend not on spectacle or profit, but on its willingness to confront truth, rebuild trust, and protect the integrity of the game.